Currently, there are approximately 27 million people enslaved throughout the world, with 2.5 million located right here in the United States. Each year, 600,000 to 800,000 more people are being trafficked worldwide. After drugs, humans are the second most trafficked item in the world. The United Nations estimates that 700,000 to 4 million women and children are trafficked around the world for purposes of forced prostitution, labor, and other forms of exploitation every year. Trafficking is estimated to be a $7 billion annual business. Victims of trafficking are subject to gross human rights violations, including rape, torture, forced abortions, starvation, and threats of torturing or murdering family members.
Prostitution is often called a victimless crime, but in the case of human trafficking, the so-called prostitutes themselves are the victims. And as we learn more about human trafficking, we discover a cruel world cloaked in utter evil, a world where mostly young girls, but also boys, are bought and sold into the sex trade. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Trafficking in the U.S. goes far beyond 10 in New York and Atlanta. It has also spread to the heartland.
We have a really wide variety of Johns as well. In our human trafficking study, we asked the victims who were interviewed in that study, who were your Johns? What were their professions?
Melinda Sykes is a spokesperson for the Attorney General's office in Ohio. She was part of a study that helped identify the buyers in the sex trade.
And we got a very wide variety of things: attorneys, judges, public officials, law enforcement, drug dealers, but also we got pastors and social workers.
These girls were victims of something hard to believe, something you might never expect, something that happened in plain sight. You are looking at girls who were held as slaves in America, not for a week or a month, but for years.
It was like being, being trapped, being in a cage. It's horrible. Like sometimes it's not enough food for us to eat. No freedom at all.
Nicole and Zena and another 20 girls like them were brought to the U.S. from their homes in the West African nations of Ghana and Togo nearly a decade ago. Barely teens, promised an American education. They were instead enslaved in Newark, New Jersey. The girls were forced to work in hair braiding salons, serving customers all day, right out in the open. Their captors took all the money the girls earned, every penny.
How many days a week were you working?
7 days a week.
How many hours a day?
Sometimes 14 hours.
This went on for 5 to 6 years. Traffickers held the girls in several houses in Newark and East Orange. The traffickers no longer live there.
This is the neighborhood where these girls were being held, and just look at it. Manicured lawns, nice houses. It looks like any neighborhood in America, and it definitely doesn't look like a place where you'd expect to find slavery.